Thinking and feeling when you kill someone?
It's just like that drug. I'm after that drug again. I don't have an on and off switch. I'm just after that drug. I'm after that feeling.
During the beating, Eileen Dardeen went into spontaneous labour, giving birth to a daughter who investigators believed to be alive at the time. The new baby was also beaten to death, and the body of Dardeen's husband turned up a day later, shot 3 times in the head.
I wonder if you could just tell me what happened as you were killing her. Did she give birth to a baby?
You know, you push and you look.
I'm sorry.
Let's not get into blood and guts, because that's what you're trying to get into.
Sells blames much of his murderous rage on sexual abuse he says he suffered as a child.
You also killed children.
I some got killed, yes.
Now, why would that happen?
I didn't want them to live through the pain I lived through.
It's biology plus environment. It's biology coming together with environmental insults which raise the odds of an individual becoming a violent criminal offender.
I tried to get in this door right here.
2 days after his final murder, Tommy Lynn Sells walks police through the crime scene.
And I opened the window all the way up, we're about like this, and that's about it. Okay.
We kind of stayed up a little later, and we got in a little fight about where we were all going to sleep. We laid there and talked about it. We talked about the time, like Britney Spears and NSYNC.
Crystal Sells, 10 years old at the time, was sleeping over at her friend Katie Harris's. A decade later, that night is still fresh in her memory.
I woke up startled a little bit, and out of nowhere, and I was kind of confused, to a loud noise.
I woke this girl up.
Her friend Katie was asleep on the bottom bunk.
I cut her bra.
I kind of just like leaned my head up a little bit, and I could see that there was this scary older man that I'd never seen before.
So I stabbed her here, and then she might jump back and then I cut her like this right here.
She had a hand on her mouth and the knife on her neck, and she's looking at me, and I just cut her throat, and she fell to the ground.
She fell down right here.
I heard Katie at the bottom of the bed, or on the floor at the bottom of the bunk bed. She was like gasping for air and choking, like she couldn't breathe.
13-year-old Katie Harris lay dying on the floor.
He was about to shut off the light, and he looked one last time. Then he noticed that I was there, and he didn't hesitate at all. I mean, just shut the door, came right back towards me with the knife.
I walked over here and I went like this.
The only thing that he said is, move your hands, because I had him up here, and he reached over the top bunk and cut my neck.
Sells sliced Crystal's neck, severing her windpipe and grazing her carotid artery.
I am very sure he thought he killed me.
Crystal Sells identified Tommy Lynn Sells as her assailant and her friend's killer, putting an end to his homicidal spree.
Do you remember the little girl who survived?
Yes. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her.
What did you do to her, sir?
Her neck was cut.
How did you do that?
With a knife.
Do you have anything to say to her, the little girl who survived?
I guess you'll relay this message too.
It's very difficult to control a psychopath. They're the person in control. And in fact, in an interview, psychopaths tend to take control of the interviewing.
What's your name?
Martin.
Martin?
Yes. Can I call you Tommy?
Oh, we'll find it out. I don't think she really wants to hear what I got to say.
What did you see in his eyes?
To be honest, he seemed blank. I mean, there was no emotion. It wasn't hard for him. All he would say is, move your hands. You know, it was just, I mean, after what I'd seen him do, he had no emotion in his eyes.
That emptiness evident as we spoke.
So what if I called you something that you didn't like? And you'd think about killing me?
Well, if we was in a fight and you'll get your head down in the concrete, then, so be it. But
what happens when my head goes down to the concrete?
Well, what do you think happens? It cracks like a coconut.
And then what happens?
You die.
When we come back, wired to kill, can you see a murderous impulse in the brain? This confessed killer wanted to find out.
Well, wanting to be locked away forever, being a mass murderer. You grow up wanting to be a ball player, a race car driver, fireman, things like that. I want to know what happened, both for myself and the girls that hurt, killed.
Joel Rifkin confessed to the murders of 17 women. What caused this man to kill? He believes it all started in his brain.
Apparently I have a deficit in this frontal lobe area, and my thought process is not your thought process.
So he's allowed cutting-edge science to explore his brain in the hopes of finding an answer to the question that plagues him.
Nice to meet you.
Why does he kill? I visited with the 51-year-old inmate in an upstate New York prison.
One of the earlier homicides or nights or events might have been euphoric, and then I was chasing it after that. The thing is, you never get that original rush. That's the whole point of why you keep chasing it.
The killing began a winter night in 1989 after Rifkin picked up a prostitute in Manhattan.
As the night progresses, I'm in for 100. After all told.
And you haven't seen any sex at all?
No. Somewhere within the next couple of hours, I just got fed up and I started hitting her. Basically, beat her till my arms got tired. And then we wrestled on the floor and I ended up strangling her. I'm starting to realize that I had done something that, this is not good. This is extremely screwed up.
Not screwed up enough to stop him from a clean-up process nearly as grotesque as his unconscionable crime.
I cut her up with a hobby knife.
And started severing the body?
Yeah, made it small as I could.
Must be pretty difficult.
Basically, I cut everything to the joint and then would pop the joints out. Did the legs the same way and proceeded to take her head off. So now I had 6 pieces that I wrapped up and casually loaded into the trunk of the car throughout the day.
But how could someone act casually after killing and dissecting another person? Neuroscientist Dr. Daniel Amen analyzed Rifkin's brain scan.
When I looked at Joel Rifkin's scan, I thought to myself, this is a brain that is vulnerable to violence. He had low activity in his prefrontal cortex, that most human, thoughtful part of the brain.
See, for example, in these scans, the image of the normal brain is brighter in the front, and in the murderer's brain, that same region is dark.
There's an area they call the frontal lobe. In its simplest form, that's where we have our conscience.
So do Rifkin's scans show that he's missing a conscience? Could a faulty brain have played a role in the brutal murders of so many women?
There are good nights with prostitutes and there are bad nights with prostitutes. There are times you get ripped off, there are times things go as planned.
Joel Rifkin committed his final murder in June of 1993.
She was the 3rd or 4th girl I was with that night. In the back seat of the car, strangled her, drove her home.
He wrapped up Tiffany Bresciani's body and stuck her in the trunk before turning the car over to his mother to run some errands.
Mom could have put groceries in the trunk that morning. None of it made sense by that time.
With notable indifference, Rifkin told me that he later transferred the decomposing body to the back of the family pickup truck. But on the highway, a license plate happened to fall off, and he was stopped by the police.
Troopers discovered that there was the body of a female, a white female, in the back of the pickup.
I was under arrest. I don't know. I knew that was it.
You do it, Joel. What do you have to say? What do you have to say, Joel?
At a cognitive level, psychopaths know right from wrong, but they don't have the feeling for what's right and wrong. We have 41 murderers.
Dr. Adrian Rain has studied psychopaths for 30 years. Both he and Dr. Amen believe that while the psychopathic mind can't be cured, it may be treatable, starting with a diet high in omega-3s.
There have even been 2 studies conducted already which have given omega-3 to young prisoners, and both have shown that after about 4 months of omega-3 treatment, there's a 35% reduction in serious offending within the prison. So we can stop the rot.
Early intervention could be the key.
The sad thing is, if I would have seen him perhaps as a teenager and helped to remediate his brain, that he would have been less likely, I think, to act out in violent ways.
Do you think if you'd had an intervention when you were younger, you might not have done what you did?
Wow. You know, if this is what they could have seen when I was 8 or 10, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe I could have gotten the therapy or the drugs I needed.
Maybe some people would have survived.
Yeah. And maybe now the next kid who comes along, we can be helped.
But this discussion has sparked an explosive legal debate. If these killers have bad brains, does that excuse their actions?
A real concern that society has is that brain imaging research will be used to exonerate psychopathic murderous individuals who should be put to death, or who should be locked up for life.
It's been coined neurolaw, and it carries profound implications on the question of accountability. In fact, Rain testified in the capital murder case of Donta Page, a young man from a troubled home.
We brain scanned this individual, Donta Page, and found that he had much poorer functioning in the part of the brain that's involved in controlling and regulating behavior. Put all the factors together, the abuse, the poverty, together with the poor brain functioning, and here's a walking recipe for later violence.
Page was spared the death penalty in part because of his brain scans.
Is that the right decision? If we buy into the line of thinking that I put forward to the judge and jury, then is this a slippery slope to Armageddon?
What do you say to those who say this is just making excuses for criminal murderous behaviour? That basically trying to find the answer in the brain is a sophisticated way of excusing your behaviour?
That's their opinion. It gives me part of an answer. It's not the complete answer. You know, does it mean I was destined to do what I did? I don't know.